He could drive a car flat out for the whole race and never fade.
Schumacher challenges Senna on the inside.
Everything was easier for him.
And the German is going through.
We grew up trying to imitate what Michael was doing.
Michael Schumacher takes the lead.
His ability to go right out onto the edge was something which he revelled in.
That's naughty from Michael.
He was like the reference, the guy you needed to beat.
Immense speed.
He's going faster and faster and faster.
We had to raise our game, basically.
Michael Schumacher gets his 7th Formula One World Championship.
He was the king of the castle. He was the driver that defined that era of Formula One.
Born in Germany in 1969, Michael Schumacher started karting at the age of 4. And after winning at local, national and European levels, he moved up to single-seater racing.
He learned from early on, from his childhood, that he had to deliver. When he's in this car or kart, he really had always to deliver in order to be able to get a seat. I think that never really got away from him. He would never have thought that he could ever arrive in Formula One. That was beyond thinking.
Impressed with his performances, Mercedes employed Michael for its sports car team.
They put Michael in the car and suddenly lap times would be faster, he was using less fuel. And he was the one who was giving us a hard time, and we were just happy when they used to put the other drivers in the car and give us a breather. He was coming together as the perfect Formula One driver. In fact, Mercedes were helping fund his Formula One introduction.
The sensation of Spa has been Germany's 22-year-old Michael Schumacher, who's substituting for Bertrand Gachot in the Jordan Ford team.
We gave him a run at Silverstone last week, 30 laps, and during that occasion he did a really good job.
AD came to me. I was driving for Ferrari at the time, and he said, I have a German guy, he's fast, but he never drove Formula One. Can you give him some advice? And I said, okay, no problem. We were in a restaurant in Spa, and Michael came to me, he said hello to me. When he left, he didn't ask me anything.
I said to him after the first session, Michael, how is it? And he said, it's really good. I said, do you remember the circuit from before? And he said, oh, parts. That was a very strange question. You raced here before? He said, I was here before, yeah.
Before Belgium, Schumacher had never driven a Formula One car on a full Grand Prix circuit. He starts 7th on the grid, an incredible achievement.
You get one chance to make a first impression, and that first impression in Spa and the Jordan was exceptional, and it got people setting up and taking notice.
The car feels really good, and it makes a lot of fun to drive, and also for the time, I'm really happy, yeah.
Senna leads, Prost 2nd, Mansell 3rd, Berger 4th. Down to Eau Rouge and the climb, I think that was Michael Schumacher. Dropping back it was.
I think we have a problem with something to do with the engine, and I think it's in the clutch department.
Bitter disappointment for him after the tremendous achievements of practice.
Then ensued a battle to pull him out of the Jordan and stick him in the Benetton.
He was given a piece of paper. I undertake to sign the contract after this weekend, because we didn't have one there. And he wrote that he accepted. But when I gave it to him and he wanted to see the lawyers and stuff like that, there was one change of word. And the word change was from the contract to a contract.
I was very determined to have a Michael in the car. I talked with Willy Weber. I tell him, very happy to sign the deal with you, but not agreement with Jordan. And Monday in London, Michael and Willy arrive in my house, and we signed the contract.
We did a test, I think, at Silverstone South, and yeah, it stood out a mile.
My lawyers have advised me that we have 2 signed legal agreements with Michael Schumacher.
We're fighting all night with Bernie. I believe I see Bernie drunk for the first time. Bernie had so many glasses of red wine because he was jumping from my couch to the couch of Jordan. And I tell Michael, you go to sleep. Tomorrow morning you're driving for us. Just not worry. Next day, happen.
It works like this. I can't agree with Eddie Jordan. I wouldn't sign a contract which is not good for me. And I got a contract from Benetton which was good for me.
He turned up, shiny, super fit, unbelievable speed. And I realised he was going to move the game forward in terms of fitness, strength, and an ability to deliver all day, every corner, every lap.
Schumacher was immediately competitive, and he soon developed a fierce rivalry with reigning world champion Ayrton Senna.
You know, he was in a battle with Ayrton. You know, they were pretty tough competitors.
Ayrton, after 10 laps, he started to play a game. And once there was a situation, he let me pass, came in a slipstream and passed me back. Just to do it like this, that somebody else can overtake me, you know. He couldn't finish. I'm really upset about Ayrton. I think it is not really necessary for 3 times world champion to do something like this.
A year after Michael's debut, F1 returned to Spa.
Welcome to the finest Grand Prix circuit in the world. Now, the bad news is that I fear it is going to rain.
The Williams were all dominant that year, but in the rain at Spa, we were keeping them in sight. Michael third, I was fourth, right on Michael's gearbox. And I'm thinking, I felt some grip, I'm going to go in and get slicks on. The track had been wet up until then. And then Michael went off in Stavolo, and we had a very low front wing on the car. And I thought, he's broken his front wing, for sure.
I just missed the apex a bit and went a bit over the grass. Actually, I was happy that I didn't hit the barrier.
I'm now third, I can still see the Williams. It's a bit wetter down here in the lower part of the track. I will go one more lap.
I was behind Martin and I could see that his tyres were blistered, and that was a good situation for me, and immediately I decided to go in for tyre change.
And into the pits now to change tyres comes Schumacher.
And of course he went on to win the race, but that's how it worked out.
23 years old, the youngest Grand Prix winner for a long, long time. The first win ever for Michael Schumacher. Well, yeah, I did it, he says.
I don't know why, but when I was in the motorhome today, I thought I'm able to win this race. I think the German fans have waiting a long time for Formula 1 Grand Prix victory, and I really give this victory to the German fans.
Michael, any last words for anybody back at home?
I think my parents want to say just hello to them.
With an improved Benetton at his disposal, Michael took victory in the first 2 races of 1994. And with his great rival Senna now driving for Williams, it looks set to be a classic season. Sadly, at Imola, both Austrian rookie Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna lost their lives.
The 1994 San Marino Grand Prix has been won by Michael Schumacher, but in circumstances that I'm sure he will not be at all happy about.
Never really spoke about it, but I know it affected him deeply. He was hit emotionally by it for quite a while.
Just win a race, but I can't feel satisfied, can't feel happy. The only thing I can say about this is hope we learn from this. I think there is a lot to learn from, and we have to use this. And things like this, they shouldn't happen without taking the experience from it. It's the only thing I want to say and I can say.
But it must, as a racing driver, remind you of your mortality, and especially your family, and that was, you know, a pretty black period for Formula 1.
And Schumacher wins!
Schumacher dominated the rest of the year, but a series of mid-season incidents for Michael and the Benetton team meant he entered the final round just 1 point ahead of Damon Hill.
You know, Michael's a racing driver, and he came from karting, and people race aggressively in those formulas, and no one had ever said to me before we went into that race, if you try to pass him, he'll probably take you off.
And that looks, Schumacher's off. Schumacher's lost time. Yeah. Hill goes by. Oh, out goes Schumacher. The German is out of the Australian Grand Prix, and Damon Hill only has to keep going to be world champion.
I wasn't prepared for what had happened. I never expected him to close the door on me. But in his position, what would I have done? I don't know.
Damon Hill retires from the Australian Grand Prix, and the 1994 World Championship has been won by Michael Schumacher.
I couldn't understand, if you were that talented and that brilliant, why you'd want any extra help. You know, these guys at the front, they try and get every advantage they can, and sometimes they overstep the mark.
It was a very great battle between me and Damon. It has been a great rival. But nevertheless, the feeling about the championship, winning the championship, it's a dream.
He was uncompromising and also risk-taking. I think that was just his approach to motor racing.
In his moment of glory, Schumacher paid tribute to Senna.
For me, it was always clear that I'm not going to win the championship, and it's Ayrton who is going to win the championship, and I'd like to take this championship and give it to him.
Finally, there was a German driver able to win the Formula One World Championship, which was at that time something unimaginable. I really remember our chief editor saying, wow, there's this guy, we need to go there now. I saw him as distant, reserved, cautious. You could feel that he was a very strong character, but he was not easy to open. He wanted to be a person public, the racing driver, and then there was a very strong feeling for privacy. Michael understood, I think, quite early on that he really needed to divide these two lives. And he did it very consequently, like everything he did.
Family, they live it, you know, they're part of it, and they live the ups and they live the downs and they live the emotions. Me and Michael has a very close family, and they lived, you know, Corinna lived the ups and downs. She went through the whole thing.
There was such a perfect couple, and when he went home and the kids were coming, you know, it was, Formula One was far away.
Schumacher's victories continued in 1995 as the rivalry with Damon Hill intensified.
Oh, what's happened? Damon's lost it, has he? It's Schumacher. They're both off, they're both out. Schumacher waves his hand in disgust. Now there's going to be a big, big argument about that.
In Hockenheim, he was already the star. All stadium was for him. That never happened before.
And off goes Damon Hill out of the race, and Michael Schumacher takes the lead.
The championship is fantastic, but to win a race in front of your home crowd, it's something unbelievable, and I'm going to enjoy this for a long, long time.
Michael really came from a very average environment, and I think a lot of people could just really relate to him. He was not the son of a rich family or something. He really had worked his way up. The people liked that, so he was one of them.
Schumacher's going to try and cut him off. Hill is alongside him and goes through. No! Schumacher's still marginally ahead. Pushes Damon Hill sideways, retaining his line.
I must say I'm not satisfied with being driven into. I didn't think that was acceptable.
Oh, and Hill hits Schumacher, and they both go off. Amazing.
It's not the first time, it's the second time now. I'm in front of Damon, and he took away the possibility for me to extend the lead towards him, which I'm not very happy with.
Sport at that level is also a lot of mind games and stuff, so he obviously wanted to come across as confident and strong and athletic.
Yeah, he'd go out in first practice, you know, light fuel, fresh tyres, once the track had cleaned up a little bit, and blitz a lap that he knew would just distract everyone for the rest of the day. That competition with the other drivers was what he lived for. You know, going fast and working out ways to beat people.
Michael was a machine.
He won in Brazil, in Spain, in Monaco, in France, in Germany, in Belgium, at the Nürburgring, and now here in Japan. Michael Schumacher is the world champion of 1995 He is a very, very difficult, in some ways near impossible man to beat.
This championship, a great part of it comes from the team. It's unbelievable the way they have handled this season. It's a beautiful feeling. You need to have some time to really celebrate this.
He'd fallen out with Flavio over a few things, and I was aware of them, but didn't realise it had gone to a stage where he was contemplating moving.
The offer Ferrari put in the table was impossible for us to match.
He was definitely fascinated by what Ferrari was representing. I was phoning regularly Luca Di Montezemolo, who was a chairman, to keep him in the loop of the discussions.
He arrived in the right moment. The team was good, the car was becoming very good, so the combination was perfect. He was crucial to add something thanks to his capability, performance, and speed.
He had expectation, but he knew it was not going to be easy, but he liked the challenge. But probably it was tougher than what he thought. And people thought Michael is arriving, so they should win.
The expectation is not to go for the championship right now. Sure, if we have a possibility, we will use it, but I think it's rather a dream than realistic.
When it was first day in, you know, he thought that is a very, let me put it this way, in a very positive way, a German approach was the right way to relate with the team. And then he understood day by day that the atmosphere that was unique in our team needed a different relationship.
Michael, particularly at the beginning, was able to win races not with the best car.
His first win with Ferrari in Barcelona, that was a good one because he rained a lot. We were not flat on the straight, and Michael really had a moment of the race where it was extremely wet. He made the gap, and that was very impressive.
Michael Schumacher wins the Spanish Grand Prix after an absolutely superlative drive.
I remember very clearly all the team on the pit cheering and you know, sharing that moment. The victory for him was an obsession.
He was a very normal guy away from racing. He had his dogs, he had his family, he did normal things. He used to love fancy dress parties. You know, whenever we went to his house, you know, for a birthday or an anniversary, it was always fancy dress. He loved getting dressed up. Some rare old costumes as well.
He was really a different kind of person in private. He was really very easygoing, enjoying his life a lot. So he loved to have fun, but he also loved to share that with other people. And he really, that was something I really always liked on him so much, even then, in these very tense times, that, I mean, he never forgot about the other people having fun too.
He's very reserved, he's shy. Sometimes he could give the impression to be arrogant, but he was not arrogant. He was protecting himself.
Michael has always been a very warm person, but obviously he didn't want that to be seen to the outside because he felt that would kind of take away something of the competitiveness.
96 Monaco, in the warm-up, I just couldn't see. My helmet at that time didn't have the double visor, which helps with the anti-fogging. So I went to Michael and said, can I borrow a helmet? Which is a very unusual thing for, I guess, drivers to do, but he didn't hesitate. He was like, yeah, okay, no problem. And I raced and finished second in that Grand Prix. I asked him if I could keep the helmet. And it turns out Ron Dennis had gone already to his helmet supplier and said, I want the helmet. So what we agreed was we'd do a replica for Ron. And I've told Ron since that I've got the original helmet in my museum in Scotland, and what he has is a replica.
The worst moment, at least for me, was, and I'm sure for him, was in 1997 in Jerez.
So here is the European Grand Prix to decide the 1997 World Championship. The two contenders are on the front row. Jacques Villeneuve in pole position and Michael Schumacher alongside him. It is extremely tense. And it's go, 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 go! Villeneuve gets away and Schumacher gets away. Better, better, better! Michael Schumacher leads!
Villeneuve is all over him, look, he's going through! Oh yes! I don't think...
Out goes Michael Schumacher!
That didn't work.
And if Villeneuve can just keep going in the points, he's won the World Championship.
When you're so keen to try to win, when you have this responsibility to win because you have behind so many persons, sometimes you can even go too far.
You know, he came back to pits convinced that Jack had hit him. And I showed him the footage and he was white-faced because he didn't realise that he'd driven into Jack. He was convinced Jack had driven into him.
Michael was very, very down. This was a very difficult moment of his career and of his life. But you know, Michael is a fighter.
I think Michael's ability often shone in the wet. You know, he was stunning in the wet. That day he was on a different level to anyone else.
He was doing okay, he managed to get himself into the lead, looked like he was going to be comfortably winning that race.
Coulthard struggling around his McLaren, just not happy at all in these conditions for whatever reason. And
oh God! Michael Schumacher hits David Coulthard and is out.
I should not have lifted on the racing line because clearly he couldn't see me. But at the moment, when I was told he was lapping me, I just wanted to let the leader go.
It was a very frustrating moment and he reacted in a very emotional way. I tried to grab him. I was the first to go there.
Now what is he up to? He's storming down the pit lane, presumably to go. Look at him, look at him.
I knew he was angry. You know, his neck was red and his eyes were out in stalks, and obviously the team kept us apart.
When there are moments of high pressure, we are all human.
You know, we met the week later in Monza. We sat in Bernie's bus and I said, Michael, look, surely you have to accept some responsibility because you're the one that ran into me. I didn't reverse into you. And he went, no, I don't see it that way. And I said, well, surely you're wrong sometimes. And he went, not that I remember.
Schumacher lost the 1998 championship to Mika Häkkinen at the final round in Japan, but his battle with the Finnish driver resumed in 1999.
When I was racing against Michael, I knew that it doesn't matter what kind of car Michael have, he will definitely attack. He was always flat out, always pushing the car to maximum.
99, in my opinion, Michael would have won the World Championship of the cruise.
And
that's Schumacher, isn't it?
He broke his leg and took him out of the championship, but in my view, we had the car and the team at that stage to win.
He could have been very negative to the team because it was a problem of the team, a problem of the brake. He never ever complained against the team.
When he came back, Malaysia and blitzed everyone. It was just frustrating years.
I think that the big thing was the ability of Jean Todt, of our president, of the people who were really much closer to him in a smaller circle to keep him focused for the future.
In a way, I felt it was like a very decisive year, and I don't know what would have happened if, if they don't finally make it.
It's not about the third World Championship, it's more about being in Ferrari and doing it together with Ferrari. That means a lot. They haven't done it for 20 years. We have been twice very close, and there's a lot of reasons where it would make it a very special championship.
He had in his mind one objective, to be world champion.
He was incredibly hardworking in that year. He really put in everything. Pressure was extremely high, and you could feel that right away.
In that moment, I was seriously upset.
He is close enough, Murray. He has got the slipstream. We know he's got 10 kilometres an hour extra, but Michael Schumacher very firmly closing the door, leaving Häkkinen nowhere to go at all.
I did explain to him, you know, and I often use my hands to explain something. You know, he just looked at me and said, "Mika, no, this is racing."
There's no point to try to follow him and then try to overtake him into the straight, because obviously he's not going to give me a room. It's correct?
Yeah, I make it
so,
difficult.
Yes, we want to win. Yes, we want to win a world championship. But you have to always remember what can happen if you do something too extreme. And that, when you're pushing somebody in a cross in 320, that is too extreme. I don't accept that is racing. That is bitter naughty behavior, you know.
And now Italy can truly erupt. The Tifosi and the Ferraristas see Michael Schumacher win at Monza and Italy.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is your 41st victory, which puts you equal second all-time with Ayrton Senna. Do those records mean a lot to you?
Yes, it does mean a lot to me. Sorry.
People don't recognize what happened in the background a lot, what Michael did. He did a lot of safety for Formula One. He was always looking for improving the cars and the racetracks to be safer.
He also worked closely on the Grand Prix Drivers Association. He was one of the directors. He was safety conscious. He was very much with the drivers in the quest to communicate with the FIA and to have an open dialogue and to try and improve things. In those moments, he could put to one side his sort of ruthless desire to win for the greater good of the sport.
Finally, Suzuka 2000, Michael was crowned.
A brilliant race for Michael Schumacher to win the World Championship for the third time, to give Ferrari and Italy their dream. And look, he knows it. He is absolutely beside himself with joy.
After, years of getting closer, it was like a moment of relief.
Oh my God! We did it!
I remember climbing the stairs to go to the podium with Michael, telling him our professional life will never be the same.
It's simply great. I mean, imagine what is going on right now in Italy. That must be simply amazing.
It was the start of a quite amazing, successful period.
2001 saw the arrival of a brash new challenger.
Schumacher leads into the first corner. Great start by Montoya as well.
I mean, I just came 2 years of caught of doing restarts and being really good in restarts. I mean, the minimum thing I can do is pass him. And so I just went for it. The thing is, I never looked at Michael like you guys did, I guess. You know what I mean? For me, it was a rival. You know what I mean? He was in the best car, and sometimes the Williams was a car that could fight, and beat him. And when that occasion came, you needed to rise for the occasion. It was tough to rattle his cage, but it was fun when you could.
Another rival was in the other Williams car.
Brothers are going to finish first and second here at Canada.
I guess our mum and dad will be very proud of us. First time a brother pair being first and second on the podium. So a happy family day, I'd say.
Despite the new challenges, Schumacher clinched the title in Hungary, with second place for teammate Rubens Barrichello confirming a third consecutive constructors' title for Ferrari.
We have such a great crew. I mean, such a good team. I'm really in love with all of them, and it makes so much fun to work with them. It's their achievement, and I'm more than thankful to all of them.
Apart from racing, was #1 the family, #2 to play soccer.
We'd organise a football game on a Thursday night for the mechanics, and And he would know all the mechanics' wives' names, and if anyone was having personal problems, he'd always spend some time. And he loved being part of that. He wasn't just doing it because he knew it would benefit him in some way. He did it because he loved to be part of a team, part of a group.
Michael was like a team principal. He's coming to the factory all the time, you know, was there all the time. Sometimes I know what's in the factory because he sent me a message. I am in the factory, I can meet you later. He was just there, talking with the people. Talking with people in the factory. The people made the pieces for the car for the next race.
He wanted to have the birthday of everybody, and that was something which was really important to him. He never thought he's something different or special compared to the mechanics. They always felt like he's genuinely interested in what they do, but also who they are.
He was naturally happy to share time with people he loved.
Down to the last corner of the race, and David Coulthard wins, and Michael Schumacher is second. Wow, there is team orders. Michael Schumacher gets 6 World Championship points, and a bitterly, bitterly unhappy Rubens Barrichello defers at the last moment. He will not be at all happy about that.
I said to the team, I said, look, if it was for first place, would that have happened? They said, no, first place, that would never have happened. And that was my main point in 2002.
The last corner, and Barrichello, is he going to win, or is he going to allow Michael Schumacher to take the victory?
That is a disgrace. That is a disgrace.
Oh, I am so disappointed. Michael Schumacher is the race winner.
He never had a #1 contract, but I mean, over the course of the season, he became naturally #1 because he had more points.
I think it's a team decision. I just signed a 2-year contract with them, and I thought I should have respect.
Last year, I sort of was involved in the situation because I felt the championship was much more tighter than it was this year. This year, suddenly, they told me that he would move over, and yeah, I mean, I'm not very pleased about it either. The team's ambitions is to win the championship, and you have to secure this because you never know what is going to happen in the next races.
This is a very, very magical moment. Michael Schumacher wins his 61st Grand Prix, and he's a 5 times World Formula One champion. This is history.
I'll be honest, I was moved when I saw him equaling Fangio's record, and he was actually in tears. And I remember thinking, God, you were putting yourself under a lot of pressure here. You know, he looked like he'd really put himself through the mill to get these results. But I think becoming the best to him was a life's mission, and I think he can say he achieved it.
Michael Schumacher is coming through to take his first win of the 2003 Formula One season.
Michael's mother sadly passed away last night, representing Ferrari, Jean-Ton. Jean, an emotional day for Ferrari, a great win for Michael. Perhaps you could try to put into words for us what Michael has gone through.
I mean, it was very difficult for him today, and he did the job because he felt he wanted to do the job, and he just did one fantastic work for the team. And I think on top of what he is as a driver, I think it is important he shows what he is as a man, and it's maybe the most important today.
We have to separate the human side to the professional side we have, but it's kind of a tough one today. It's good that he has won the race just to, you know, at least give him a little bit of a good feeling inside, because he's going through a difficult period.
These famous periods where, you know, with the strategy we had, I think some racers say, right, Michael, we'll go nail it now. And he'd be doing qualifying laps, 15 laps. And other drivers couldn't do that.
It means mind, it means concentrations, it means capability to be very strong to maintain this very, very high level.
He just raised the bar of what a Formula One driver should do.
Michael was always able to understand the race.
He was able to explain how to develop the performance in each and every single frame of the lap.
Behind the Michael victory, there is the work that Michael has done with the team. Michael very keen to look at the work of the mechanics, at the details of the cars, so a driver's very close to the car, to the team.
Other drivers, they didn't have such a clear picture how to get the car in absolute optimum performance. Michael had more knowledge, he has more determination through the team, work on details. And there was problems with the car, pushed the teams to find a solution.
Sometimes we start 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, everybody was working. And this is not for the money, the people was working because want to give the best car to Michael, because we know if Michael had the best car, we win the race.
You know, he rallied his team around him and made them believe that he would take the car to the absolute limit of its performance.
Michael has a natural leadership. It's not something you learn, it's natural. It's in him.
This historic moment when Michael Schumacher became the first 6-time World Formula One champion. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the greatest achievement in the history of Formula One racing.
Corinna, congratulations.
I'm very, very happy. So what can I say? 6 times, never did it, so...
Not all of his rivals made it easy for him in 2004, either on the track or off it.
And look at Montoya attacking Schumacher.
Schumacher pushes Montoya clean off the road.
I mean, I saw his attack on the outside at braking, but then going around the corner, first of all, I didn't see him, but second, outside around the corner, you usually lose ground, so I didn't really expect him to be there anymore.
Oh, no, he didn't see me there. Well, no. You know, you gotta either be blind or stupid to not see me, but, you know, it's racing.
Every time I turn the TV on, it just seemed to be Michael winning another race. Watching this relentless kind of tally going up and up of Michael's victories and championships.
Schumacher secured the title in Belgium, although he seemed more interested in family achievements elsewhere.
There was far more important things like my kids. When you go to a swimming school, you can make a certain exam and they passed the exam, and that was much bigger celebration than my 7th championship, and I love that.
Drivers of our generation, we grew up trying to imitate what Michael was doing. Battling with Michael was very hard, but at the same time it was fair. It was clean. I remember Imola 2005. I kept him behind for 23 laps, and he was clearly faster, but Imola was tight circuit and it was not possible to overtake, so let's say that I won that battle. He was extremely happy for me. He was congratulating the team. He was happy, you know, he was, even if he was not winning that particular battle, he was still, you know, generous in terms of congratulating the others.
Alonso went on to win the title, with Michael scoring his only victory of the season at Indianapolis, in a race overshadowed by the withdrawal of most of the field when their tyres proved unsuitable.
Bit of a strange Grand Prix. Not the right way to win my first one this year, but one of these out of 84 is not a big disaster anyway.
The wins continued at the start of 2006, but another huge controversy was just around the corner.
Michael Schumacher is the fastest man so far.
He's made a mistake somewhere in the middle sector of this lap. 1 second
He's made another one at the Ras Martin, straight on, missed the turn in.
Yeah, but that's going to spoil everybody else's lap too. The yellow flags are going to be out, and that's going to keep him pole position. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
Fernando's lap, do you believe it really did spoil Fernando's lap?
I mean, he's not touching the barrier, touching nothing. It's very, you know, I mean, he's just parking the car.
Yeah, I think so. It's not very nice to do that kind of things because it's quite obvious that nothing was wrong and he just wanted to stop and get a yellow flag from it.
Cheapest, dirtiest thing I've ever seen in Formula One. I think he's underestimated our
our general intelligence by trying to claim that he made a driving mistake. I mean, give me a break.
Would Michael do something like that deliberately?
Not the Michael I know.
Watch the video and you see that I pushed hard, locked up, started sliding and run out of road, which is the consequence here in Monte Carlo.
He had a few times, very few times where we have seen that the level of pressure was higher than he had different behaviors. But that's human.
Some of his moves, of course, weren't from the rule book. You know, if you read the rule book, it says, you know, now you do something wrong. So he was definitely on a limit a few times.
Without those little flaws, we wouldn't have had the Michael competing that we all witnessed and we saw. He was, you know, uncompromising.
I believe it's somehow written when and how you're going to die, in my view. And if you do things within your limits, and specifically said within your limits, not above, then I feel you can do what you like.
He was maybe enjoying that he was fighting for the championship, but then in the middle of the season, I knew really that he was going to retire.
It's now official, apparently. A press release is going out as we speak. Schumacher is retiring from Formula One.
At the end of this year, I've decided together with the team that I'm going to retire from racing. I should thank my family, who at all time supported at what I was doing, and without their support, without their strengths to survive in this business and this sport and to perform, I think it would have been impossible, and I can't be thankful enough.
I think maybe he took a bigger weight from his shoulder, and he was softer and more free. You could feel that he was lighter, you know.
So this is the final Grand Prix of Michael Schumacher's career. He's going out fighting. He's racing with Raikkonen, who's trying to block him into turn one. Schumacher's having none of it. They're side by side. Don't collide, guys. Please don't collide. Raikkonen gives him room. Schumacher is through. The crowd go bananas. And that says everything you need to know about Michael Schumacher's spirit.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very special guy. He deserves, you know, the 7 titles he has. I will miss him definitely a lot.
Always said that to become champion when Michael is still on the track has maybe more value than when he retired. And I was extremely lucky to win the last 2 championships.
My wife organized the whole party for him. And it was so nice. I mean, everybody was enjoying. And I remember, so it was an amazing moment, you know, celebrating his incredible career.
The 2006 season was very difficult for his physical condition. He had really sometimes neck problems, and we didn't want anybody to understand that, obviously, because it would have obviously influenced the championship. But it was clearly like this. So at that point, it was time for him to go.
Looking back on it, he probably did stop too soon. You know, he could have carried on, and I think he would have won. A good chance he would have won the championship again in 2007. But, you know, he'd confessed he was tired.
He didn't really have any desire to come back. Actually, he was really happy with his retirement.
Michael reconsidered after Felipe Massa's serious head injury in Hungary in 2009.
He came to visit me in the hospital. And he was also ready to get my place, you know, to race on the second part of the season. He went to test in Mugello, and he was really slow, and nobody was understanding. And he went to check his neck or his back, and the doctor told him that it was better for him not to race because he was not 100%. At the end, he didn't race because of this accident that he had in the bike.
I just rang him up and said, "Do you fancy a beer?" And he knew what I was going to ask. And it came together quite quickly.
I remember very clearly that he called me and he said, you know what, Sabine, I just had a chat with Ross and can you make me some pros and cons, maybe if I should come back or not? And I said, oh, I think, Michael, there's no need to do that because I can hear from your voice that you already decided. You could really feel it immediately.
I knew that something was boiling. He said, you know, Stefano, can I be back in Ferrari cars to drive? For us to offer him the possibility to come back would have been very difficult. I felt there were more negative than positive points to go versus that route. So I understood his wish to prove to everyone that he would have been still an incredible driver.
He came back to race because he was missing so much the competition. For sure, I mean, the second part of his career was not the same as the first one, which is pretty normal, I think, with the age.
We've been waiting to see this, haven't we? Schumacher versus Hamilton, wheel to wheel. It's the first time I think we've really seen it. We've got two Mercedes side by side and they make contact. Michael Schumacher round. Will he? Oh!
Very quickly it became clear that it would not turn out the way that he had hoped. The resources were not really there and it was clear that they would not be given as well.
There were glimpses almost of his brilliance in that period in Monaco where he would have qualified on pole but he had a penalty. I think would have won that race.
Michael Schumacher's crash into Bruno Senna in Spain last time out cost the 43-year-old a very famous pole position and what would have been the best start on his Formula One return.
But he always kept great resolve and great commitment, never complained, never moaned, just tried to lift the team up.
But at some point, it's good to say goodbye. And that's what I'm doing here with by the end of the season. And it might this time even be forever.
Look at this, Raikkonen and Schumacher inches apart going through the centre S's. I think they might have just touched.
Might be the old boy's last race, but he's not going to yield.
Michael fought a lot to convince the right people to really give more money into it and really make it a big team.
You know, it was really pretty instrumental in where Mercedes are today in terms of helping build the team.
We discussed it that maybe you stay another year, then and he said no, but I'm not having it. I don't want to spend so much time away from my family, and that was actually the reason why then, knowing he couldn't maybe have a better record at the end if he stayed another year, he just decided against it.
Michael's legacy is one of not just Formula One. I think he transcends that.
The generation of drivers that we are now in Formula One and the ones that they are arriving, they are Formula One drivers because of Michael.
He was exceptional. He had work ethic, speed, commitment.
The way, the results, and what he achieved is still a reference.
He's amongst the most legendary figures in motor racing.
Here's this guy who's got huge natural talent. All the other Formula One drivers just looked at him like he was a god.
You were dealing with the legend.
What he was the most complete Formula One driver, probably of all time.